Hello, I'm back again. This is my second video. Thanks to all 6 people who watched my first video. I watched Man City beat Liverpool 4-1 yesterday, and then I got to watch Arsenal beat Leeds 4-1. There were different games. I'm going to talk about the Man City game first, touch on Arsenal later, what I think is going to happen next. Let's start with City's game. It was early, my time, Eastern time. It was on at 7, so I taped it thanks to Fubo. So I was watching at 8. I had the sound low. Jim Beglin was commentating anyway, so I really didn't want to hear that. And I, for some reason, decided to take notes, more notes probably than I ever took in university during that match. Girlfriend was sleeping too, so I wasn't going to crank it. So what I noticed right away with City's lineup is they had 4 center backs playing in the back line, no real recognized fullback whatsoever. So I didn't really know which fullback would come in to the double pivot beside Rodri. Ended up being John Stones. He was probably one of the players of the match, especially the more I thought about how mobile he was during that game. I didn't really know he had that. He's played in that spot a few times before, but I was really impressed with him. But I just thought that City's lineup looked slow, like Gundogan, De Bruyne, Rodri, and then the 4 center backs. I was like, oh, if Liverpool can transition, they're going to have opportunities. That's what happened with the first goal. I mean, City started so brightly, they had a couple opportunities right away. They probably could have been up really, really early. They were playing way faster than I thought they might. And the game was a lot less of a chess match, and the teams, both of them were trying to build really fast and get to the front line as quick as possible, bypassing the midfield and getting it up to the attacking line, getting the ball out wide, and then trying to cut it back in. Especially City was doing that, and it looked good every single time they were doing it. Grealish on the left wing, going up against Trent. That was a problem all day. Gundogan in that half space was overloading there, and they looked incredible. But then Liverpool gets one counterattack. Alisson rolls the ball out to, I think it was, who was it? I wrote it down. Fabinho. I thought it was a center back. He rolls the ball to Fabinho. Trent then gets the ball, one pass over the top to Jota, split in between the 2 center backs. He kind of is fumbling the ball in the box. I don't know if he laid it off to Salah, if it just happened that way. Salah slams the ball in 1-0. I knew, or I had a feeling that Liverpool maybe could take the lead in the match, but I mean, Pep said it in his interview afterwards. I was thinking while I was watching it, Liverpool's up 1-0, but City looked dangerous every time they have the ball. Didn't take long for City to respond. Again, overloading on the left side. The play was so fluid for their first goal to answer. The problem was Robertson pressing too aggressively, missing out on that challenge versus De Bruyne. And Mahrez is completely free. I just watched the goals back. It's not like I have a beautiful mind. I literally just watched these. And then he gets it to Gundogan, who was so good all day, over to Grealish, over to Alvarez. I had written down in the 23rd minute, I forgot Alvarez was on the pitch. I didn't think he was making much of an impact. Obviously, this was City's test without Haaland. They looked incredible. They looked fluid. I think sometimes that's saying you're only as strong as your weakest player on the pitch. It's true for some teams, not a team like City. Alvarez wasn't their weakest player. You could say maybe it was like a Kanji or Ake. Who cares? They could hide 2-3 players on the pitch with the quality they have, how fluid they are. They played incredible. I was really, really impressed. Also, Grealish's interception on Mo Salah before he got that assist. That was incredible effort by him. He had an unbelievable game. I've weirdly rooted for him after the $100 million transfer. I would understand why people wouldn't, but I just really thought Grealish on City, that could be a nice fit. He struggled at times. I remember watching this fixture here, Liverpool City, I think again at home last season, and it was Grealish on the left wing or possibly the false 9, but him and Foden were interchanging, and he looked okay in that game, but he didn't look comfortable. This is probably the most comfortable I've seen him look as a City player, although sometimes in the Champions League he's looked really good as well. He played incredible, and City were just all over Liverpool. Liverpool's midfield couldn't lay a glove on City at all. Trent was so bad for a couple of the goals. Liverpool just, they didn't show up today, and that's obviously what I didn't want that. I wanted City to slip up. Liverpool taking that lead was great. But the whole second half, really, from that goal that came so early, I don't even have to look at my notes. From that game, that the goal, 46th minute, that basically ended the game. Liverpool looked so toothless. And like me and my best friend have a saying, when a team gets beaten really badly or one team really blows a team out, we say it's a punching. This was a punching. Like, City really showed how good they can be even without Haaland. It's scary. I don't even have to go through the other goals. I'm worried. I'm worried as an Arsenal fan seeing how well City played against Liverpool. They have a bunch of games coming up. Next game, they play Southampton. Good luck to Southampton. Then they're playing Bayern, Leicester, Bayern again, Sheffield United. Then they're playing Arsenal. But Bayern with Tuchel could be interesting, but City just looked too good. Anyways, on to the Arsenal side of things. Since I am an Arsenal fan, why am I waxing lyrical about City for so long? Arsenal's 4-1 was really different. Saka being on the bench was something that made me pretty nervous. I like the idea of Trossard and Jesus playing together with Martinelli, but I know Saka played the 2 games for England, playing, I think, the whole 90 minutes in both, which I think was probably too long, especially in the 2-0 game when he scored that amazing goal against Ukraine. I don't know why he couldn't go off, or at least go off earlier if he did end up subbing off. Anyways, fair play to Arteta to bring him off the bench, give him a little bit of rest. He really hasn't had much rest at all, and he's been so incredible, but at times he does look tired. I don't agree with some YouTubers that say he's the slowest man on the pitch at times, but I really do think you can see when he looks tired, but when he's fit and when he's at it, he's incredible. And maybe him coming off the bench will actually make him a little bit hungrier. And this is sort of something that is a dimension that Arsenal has not had since Arteta's really come in, is a sense of rotation like City has. I was explaining to my girlfriend how Jesus is so good, but he would only play about 50% of City's games, and he'd be sitting on the bench, or he'd play and then he'd get subbed off, and the embarrassment of riches City has, Arsenal don't come close to that. But the fact that they can rotate Martinelli, Trossard, Jesus, Saka, Reece Nelson sometimes, I'd like to see Emile Smith-Rowe get fit again, get into that rotation, even if it's not in the front 3, and Jack a spot at the left 8. Or even Fabio. I like having different options. I like the idea of teams not knowing how you're going to line up. The beginning of the game was basically almost like Bournemouth. It was crazy end to end. I honestly think Leeds could have scored right away, maybe should have. And then Martinelli probably should have scored. And that's a few times this year and even last year where Arsenal have had a chance 1-2 minutes in and then they don't end up finishing. And they might need to score those chances in the games coming up if they continue to have those early chances, because I think it's just going to get tougher and tougher. But as the game progressed, I thought Leeds looked good. They were really compact. They were defending deep, and they had kind of a front 4 that was ready to pounce. And with Rob Holding in for Saliba, that was concerning. I'm not the hugest Rob Holding fan, but I thought he played well. He didn't play as well as he did against Crystal Palace, but he did the job. I thought the back 4 was solid enough. Thomas Partey was so good, and you might not have even noticed that, but it's because he made it look so easy. He was so composed the whole match. It was he helped out the back 4 a lot. And Ben White obviously getting his goal. His song has been stuck in my head since I've watched that match. He really was incredible 2 ways, overlapping in the offensive end. cleaning up and being so secure on the defensive end and covering up against those really quick wingers, especially Somerville was someone who I thought looked great in that match, and maybe should look, or teams should look at maybe him as an option for a signing for someone that is somewhat raw and not a finished article, but you can see the talent there, the dribbling, the speed, the incisiveness. I think even though with him and Harrison and Aronson, there's something there. Maybe another team could look at Somerville and see his potential as well, maybe especially if Leeds go down. Anyways, the start of the game was a bit tough. Arsenal looked tentative. They looked a bit cautious. They weren't as precise, and they definitely didn't have much of a threat. They barely had any shots to begin the match. I didn't take notes on this match, so I don't need my notebook anymore. I wanted to just sit on the edge of the couch like I always do and stare at the game and yell and just really try to pay attention. And I get carried away with the emotions of an Arsenal game. I can't pay attention to the details as much of another team because I'm too busy yelling at the TV some of the time. One thing I noticed that was interesting with Ben White and Trossard, he wasn't giving Trossard the ball for the first maybe 20 minutes. Then when he would always play the pass instead of right to the touchline. He would play it a couple yards inside of the touchline, so Trossard would be on the move when he's receiving the ball, which is something he's been doing with Saka a little bit more recently, and then Trossard could start cutting inside. And I thought that was a good idea. It just wasn't coming off to begin with, but then Jesus got more involved in the game. Every time he picked up the ball, I thought he was making something happen. And the penalty, I don't know if that would be a penalty that gets called every day. I think if Leeds have a similar situation, I'd be pretty mad about that penalty call, but credit to Jesus for putting two players on the floor inside of the penalty box and finishing the goal. I'm glad Martin let him take that penalty, and it's so nice to see Jesus score again, his first start in 6 months. That was an amazing performance as well, even though he only played 60 minutes. Keep him fresh, bring Saka in for 40 minutes. Arteta knows exactly what he's doing. And after that, I think Arsenal really grew into the game, and they really had more of the attacking threat. Trossard started to look just so silky. He's such an amazing signing. I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't watch Brighton much this year. I saw him scoring a lot of goals. I saw him making things happen, and I thought there's a player there, but I didn't know he could play at this level and slot into the team. Mudryk who? That's all I got to say. Trossard's been incredible, and his link up with Jesus for Jesus' second goal was unbelievable. Martinelli's overlapping with Zinchenko is something that's missing at times, but that allows the space out there and the one-on-one ability to get inside the box, find Ben White at the far post again. That's the second goal he scored like that this season. I'm so happy to see him popping up for goals. And then the fourth goal was just complete quality pass by Martin, and then a finish by Xhaka, who's scoring again. I can't believe how much he's scoring now. It's incredible. But although Arsenal grew into the game, they scored 4 goals like City did. City scored 4 goals without Haaland against Liverpool, even though Liverpool can leak goals at times. Arsenal scored 4 goals after they had to grow into the game and struggle a little bit against Leeds, who were scrapping in the relegation zone. I think where it stands right now is City, even though they're 8 points behind, they have a game in hand, they're in the Champions League, they're in the FA Cup, they're the team to beat. So a lot of it might come down to how Arsenal can fare against City at the Etihad, and they may have to employ some different tactics in order to protect a lead, protect a draw, because I think if they step out like Liverpool did at times, expose themselves and open up gaps. City is so clinical with Haaland, without Haaland. Bernardo didn't even have to play basically until the last 5 minutes of that game, and he's maybe been the most impressive player I've seen in the Premier League this season. His versatility, filling in at left back at times, being able to play right wing, left wing, number 6, number 8, number 10, false 9. He can literally play anywhere, and you have that weapon just sitting on the bench. It's unbelievable. And he is so key, and Gundogan is key, Kevin De Bruyne, and just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 passes, and then it's a goal if you have one player out of position. So Arsenal will have to be pretty close to perfect to beat City on the 26th. But we'll see what happens in the next few games. I mean, Arsenal is about to play Liverpool. That's a massive test for both teams. I can't wait to see what happens. Bye.